y'all, it's Jamie, and today we are going to be making a card using a couple of different pixie dust design products. The first thing that we are going to use is the hatching egg die set, and it cuts out an egg. You have then a top and bottom piece of a cracked egg and then some wings. So really what it is a chick kind of popping out and hatching out of that egg. It also has like a little grass and eyes, different kind of eyes, so you can do lashes, no lashes, as well as your beak elements. So I've already die cut kind of all of my pieces, and we'll be using these to put everything together. And we're gonna go ahead and also make this a pop-up card. So the second thing that we're gonna use is the pop-up card die set from Pixie Dust Designs, and you can see it comes with all of these other elements. And I'm going to link real quick to my card that I made for kind of a lovey-dovey mood that I was in using this set and actually incorporating the heart elements and the pop-up mechanism. But for this card, we are only going to be using this one piece from the set, and it creates this kind of die cut embossed line mechanism. So there's a couple of different ways that you can use this set, and this is another way that you can use it from how I showed using it before with all of those elements. So what I have already prepped, other than die cutting my pieces from the two sets, are some card panels. So what I have decided to do is make kind of a egg at night. That's kind of my idea and my theme. I took some kind of cloudy cardstock paper that I had in a paper pack, and I did a little bit of pitch black ink blending around the outside and just along the bottoms because I wanted to still keep this kind of smoky kind of look. And then I went ahead and splattered some paint, some white paint. It's called bleed proof white. It's Dr. Martin's bleed proof white paint. And that's what I splattered. What I like about the bleed proof is that with this, it is really bleed proof. So for example, if you ink blend on any of your product or projects, maybe you take some of your dye elements or whatever, and then you want to splatter everything afterwards, sometimes that ink will, because if it's water-based especially, it will be picked up into your white paint that you're splattering, okay? This does not do that. It is very, very solid. I hope that you can kind of see on here. And then it's also a little textured. I'm hoping you can kind of see some of that texture, but it is a little textured on there as well. And this is acting kind of as my starry sky. That's the thought for today, and we're going to go ahead and get ready making. I have my splatter box, and I cut out 2 circles that are going to be my mood. And then I'm taking some distressed mica stain. So I'm going to just shake, shake, shake. I think Simon Hurley is the one that says this is like shake weights for the crafting world. And we're good. There's no pigment on the bottom. So I'm actually going to start with flickering candle, because this is a little more orange. And then I'm going to come in, and I think I want to spray to get a little bit of movement on these. And then I'm going to come in with the harvest moon. And then there we have it. And I really like that. It kind of adds a little bit of orange, but I don't know, keeps it more yellow, and that's what I wanted. So I've got my heated tool here, and I'm just going to give these a quick little dry. Okay. I didn't put too much water, so yeah, they should be pretty good. And okay, so we have our circle moons, and I think I want to go ahead and use the moon mask and actually do a little bit of ink blending over that. And so yes, my circle is not as big as the moon, but you know, it's fine. We can position it however we want. Now the moon mask is just that. It allows you to mask out the circle. So if you wanted to, you technically could then ink blend all around that area and then come back in with your moon element there. It's a little bit different than the Sizzix die set, which is Moonlight. And Moonlight has a couple of dies that will cut out the larger circle piece, which is not completely a circle. It's kind of a wonky shape, if you can see that, but it does have then that moon element to it that you then would layer together. So that's the Moonlight die. I think the mask is very similar, and sometimes I've heard people get them a little confused. They're not the same. So oopsie, dropping stuff. So I like them both. I find that I grab this more. As you can see, I just went to town. I cut a bunch of circles and did paste. I did grit paste. We're just going to do ink blending on ours. And then I even cut already where there's a couple of different moon sizes here for projects that I'm already going to be ready for. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of wild honey. It's more orange, so I'm going to add a little more orange to my moons, and you're going to see that I'm going to do this pretty carefree. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time. And I went with the oxide because I wanted to kind of soften some of the mica. I don't want it to be overly, I guess, shiny, like all over the moon. I don't know if y'all can understand me. And I'm just kind of pouncing it more than anything. And then it's just adding, see, just an extra little bit of that moon. It's not like overly bright. It's not overly like in your face. I really wanted there to be, I think it toned down and some element of toning this down. I want to think about my moon placement. And so I have some elements of our little chick and where the chick is going to kind of go on the center of each of the cards. But I kind of want to, I think I want to kind of put it in a corner, but keep it rounded instead of making it where it comes like this and flat. I think I want it kind of over in the corner. So I know I kind of want this corner. I know this is messy, and it's okay because we're going to come in with scissors and we are going to cut that down as well as re-glue some of that because I know that it's not exactly positioned. Like I'm putting enough glue. How do I say this? Let me think. Thank Jamie. So I'm putting enough glue to hold my piece, but it's not all the way to the edge. So I'll need to come back there. But I didn't want to go outside of that, and I didn't know how much of the moon I was going to actually need. And this doesn't have to be perfect. It's not exact, right? So, and then this is the other side of that card pack. I think it's by scrapbook.com. But then I can come in here with my scissors, and these are Spellbinders scissors. And I tried them at my mom's. I'm going to keep that because you can still use that as like a piece of moon coming out of the sky, right? Which is why I cut it all the way across. You can even keep this piece because even with this piece, if you wanted to, you could put it in the corner as if it's a very small, like little moon, depending on what your scene is like. So I will keep those and use those. I like to keep my stuff. I'm going to place them where I want them first. And I know it's looking Halloweeny for Easter, but it's really not. I promise this, when it's over, it's going to be Easter. And this is the hatching egg. So it cuts out that egg piece like I was showing, and then these wing pieces. And you can see embossing on here. I like that added detail. That's just just a little fun extra little bit there. And I really like that, that aspect to it. So I'm going to do some inking just around the edges of these. And I'm going to use my waffle flower shader brush. I'm going to put a little bit into the wing here just to kind of give it some extra where you can see those little embossed details a little bit. So I do not take tons and tons of time with ink blending, especially kind of around edges of stuff. I just wanted these wings that are going to be on the inside egg of the card. I want them to be a little darker, so I don't know that they're just, you can see the movement. Maybe that's where my brain is trying to go. Okay, so I have cut out, as you can see, because this is kind of my glow in the dark, hatching egg at night, and we used some glow in the dark dye to dye our Easter egg. So that's why the shell is so glowing. And this was using alcohol ink on acetate. And then what I did was I just kind of put some put it on white cardstock using adhesive, double-sided adhesive. So yeah, that's kind of what I did here on these, but that's why it also has that really shiny look, is because I did the alcohol on acetate. First thing I actually want to do, and you'll see here in my tray that I have a bunch of like little bits. Now, this is going to lay over the black. Okay, so there's two pieces of solid, which should be the black, and then of course you have the beak kind of smile there. And then we have our eyes, which these black pieces will lay over. And then there's eyebrows. And then these are closed eye, winking type elements. We need to figure out placement of everything. So I'm just going to kind of lay this over. And this is what I found was a little easiest, was to lay this over. And then I can kind of see positioning on my egg. So I think I'm going to want it like that. And I like where that one is. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And this is Nuvo glue. Does anybody have this My Sweet Petunia press? I do really like it. It has helped my hands quite a bit. And let's see if we can get them somewhat even. That may not happen because, well, it's me. And then there we have our little sleeping egg for the front of our card. So we need to do the same thing. The difference with this one is we're actually going to use the beak pieces and those open eye pieces. So let's get those adhered first, and then I'll come back and then we can come back and do the rest. This is very simple. So, and I really like how Pixie Dust Designs does their eyes. I think they are so cute. All right, so we have our little pieces for the eyes, right? And I can see a little bit of white kind of peeking out. And that's because I'm really not that great at the way that things should be positioned and all of that. So what I have is this Faber-Castell artist pen. It's in black, and it's just got this little brush-esque marker tip. And I just kind of run that around the edge. And what that does is that's going to darken the white cardstock underneath. And then that way you don't see that it wasn't on correctly. So I just kind of take that, brush it around. I mean, no care, right? Like we don't, it's not a hard thing to do. And then there we have our eye, and you can't tell the white specks. And maybe there's a way to do this that is a little easier as far as the lining up of aspects of this. I don't know. Sometimes my brain doesn't go to the easiest solution. I mean, I try to find the easiest solution. My mom is really great at that. Like really, really, really great. Oh, look, that one I actually kind of lined up properly. I'm still gonna just take, because there's a little bit of a white edge, so I'm just gonna take the marker and go along that edge. And I think it just kind of finishes off really nice. And then that way, no matter how you're looking at this, it's not showing, and it kind of just makes it a little cleaner of a look. So let's go ahead and get our beak on there. You can add some ink blending around the beak as well. I just didn't. I could have just pulled out the dauber that I had for the moon and gone that direction and done that, but I didn't. And then we want our little chick smiling. So we're going to make sure it is the proper way. I think that's the spacing we need. So I'm actually going to put this piece down first because I like the spacing everywhere. So I want to make sure my nose, or my beak, sorry, is positioned where it needs to be. And now I actually want to put this piece on, just so I have that secure as well. And then we can work on eye placement and those eyebrows. Ooh, and there's our little egg. So we have the one for our front, and then the one on the inside. And then we, of course, have our wings. We have our grass pieces that also go with this. And so we're going to put those onto our egg. This egg. I cut out two. And I wasn't quite sure how I was going to like it, but because it's a nighttime, what I decided to do was add a little bit of highlight, and I'm going to offset this just a tad. There's a fold line right there, and that's what we're going to crease around, because this will have our egg sitting in this grass. So I'm going to go ahead and crease along that. And then I'm going to put some glue at the back, and then just a little bit at the front little grassy pieces. And our egg is actually going to sit right inside this, just like that. And let's move on to the inner mechanism of the card. We have our mechanism piece that is going to go on the inside. And the reason why I cut it out in black is because when the recipient opens up the card, you're going to be able to see how the wings kind of flap. And I didn't want the mechanism to be white and it be so glaring that it's a mechanism piece and a pop out kind of piece. So that's why I did it this way. And this has some tabs. And then both of these end tabs fold back, or what is going to be towards the card base. Okay. And then we are stuck with this, right? This is also going to fold back. Okay. And then in our card, it's going to sit like this. This is the piece that we need to fold, and it's going to fold inward. So here's what I find to be the easiest thing to do. Fold along all the creases first. So that's that center one. I'm going to get the X on each side done. And then when you fold this, you want the center to go down. So I'm going to fold these in, and you can see the center already starting to fold down. That is what we want. So just continue to fold it and fold it so it's down, and then you can see how it's going to sit on our card like this. Okay, so you kind of created like a little bucket. Now, putting this into our card, this bottom tab is going to go and butt up right against the center bottom. And then this other tab is going to go onto the back. Okay, so let's start with this tab that goes on the bottom first. And I'm just making sure that that is a center. That is center, yes. Center as can be. And then we have this little tab right here. I find it easiest to put the glue onto the tab and then close the card. I'm going to hold it down for a little bit just because I want to make sure that the glue is adhering really nice. Let's go ahead and get our other grass piece onto our inside hatching egg. And then we have our fun little pop-up mechanism. So hopefully you can see that. So each wing sits on this, and it kind of fits perfectly where it just kind of comes right in there. So what we're going to do is take our glue, and I'm going to go direct into this little area right here. And I'm going to put my first wing. Now make sure you have it curving up, because that's what we want. We want it to curve up. I'm going to line that, and I'm just going to kind of press it down and make sure it's really adhered very nicely. And then do the same thing with the other side. And then we have our wings. So I'm going to put glue all over this little front area. And then I'm going to look and kind of center it in my wings. I decided to die cut a couple of extra pieces of this same grassy element, but in a little bit of glitter. I think that will add a little something to it, but because this is the same mechanism as this, where it folds back. And when it's like that, I don't want that white peeking through. So I'm actually just going to cut it along that line. So it is a straight line, and I'm going to put that at the very bottom of my card. And then we can take our egg and put it right here. And I think that looks so cute. I found the sentiments that I want to go ahead and use on my card. So I have this that says Happy Easter, and it is embossed in gold powder, a gold embossing powder. And I liked this because it has some alcohol ink on it already, which kind of ties in to our egg. So I think that this will be really fun kind of on the front here. I've already put some foam adhesive on the back of the sentiments. So I'm gonna just kind of line it up. I think that that's where. I like that. So, and then it says Happy Easter, and then we open it up and we have our little chick. And then what I'm going to put is these down here, and they're popped up as well. So it kind of all comes together. And these just say to you and yours. And I know it's lowercase, like, what does it matter? Does it? No. So I am going to still, I kind of want it to be centered, of course, but with our little chicky chick. I feel like I should give the chick a name. Something neon-esque. I think a chicken space would be really fun. And here is our finished card. I think that this is so cute. We have our alcohol inked sentiment that says Happy Easter, and I really like it in the gold because it kind of ties into this without it being in your face. I really wanted the focal point to stay on this little chick and our story, our theme of, you know, the egg being hidden at night, and then they just didn't know that the chick was going to go ahead and hatch. And then there we have our chick hatching in the middle of the night, and it says to you and yours on the inside. And then there you can hopefully see a little bit of the flying wings. I think that is so cute. I love this kind of, I don't know, night with the little texture of the splatter. We have our wings. I hope that you can see just how cute that is, and then how it comes together and then opens up. Very cute. I really hope that you enjoyed this card using the pop-up card A mechanism, which was just that one little centerpiece that we used, along with the hatching egg set, all by Pixie Dust Designs, making this cute little hatching egg. And you can see how you can have it with, you know, eyes closed or eyes completely open, or you can have one open and one winking. I think it's just a very cute set, and I hope you enjoyed the card. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you are reminded of when more crafty fun is to be had. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for supporting me by subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing this video.